Hi, fellow South Africans. I have done a couple of other videos that have been on, and I don't know whether they're still around, but I've been reading quite a bit on the blogs for South Africans wanting to leave South Africa and go to Panama and emigrate there because of the easy, well, so-called easy, the friendly visa that you can get, friendly nation visa. Um, I do worry though when I see, and it does upset me a great deal to see a lot of posts and a lot of things put on by people who are trying to profit and capitalize on this exodus of people who are really desperate. I left South Africa quite a long time ago, and it was very fortunate that I saw the writing on the wall and I had the opportunity, and I left. My wife and I left. We had our children outside of South Africa. But what I wanted this video to do was to give some people a bit of an insight to what's involved. There's a lot involved moving to Panama. It's not easy. It's tough. A lot of South Africans have come and found out that it is tough, maybe being taken advantage of, ripped off, scammed. I don't want to point fingers. I wish I could, but the legal system in Panama is such that you can't slander people. You cannot name them and say, hey, this guy's a rip-off and that guy did me down and whatever. You'll get done for it. So you've got to be very careful what you say. But if you can read between the lines and listen between the lines, you'll understand what I'm saying. And my biggest warning is, please, all of you who are planning to come, do your research, for God's sake, man. Don't just come blindly believing everything you read and see and promises and things. I moved into Panama in 2006. I made lots of mistakes. I lost money. We've had a roller coaster ride. And people who know me in Panama will say, God, he's an absolute idiot, or he's an arsehole, or whatever. Because we were stupid. We thought we could do things one way and it didn't work. We tried another way, it didn't work. We lost money with lawyers. Luckily, we didn't lose money on property. We bought a house in Bokete. We didn't like Bokete. After a year, I bought a much bigger property down on the coast and set up things. But just to give you a brief sort of rundown, I arrived with two children. I arrived with two 20-foot containers. 2 weeks after we got there, we bought a property within a month in Bokete. Big mistake. We should have done more research. We didn't speak Spanish. We managed to do everything ourselves. Buying the property, going to lawyers, going to Catastro, going to get the things stamped and then copies, trying to get our marriage certificate in South Africa certified. God, that is unbelievable. You need to get it apostilled. Do that. Every document you have, get it apostilled, triple copies, signed by the Pope, whoever you can. Luckily, I met the South African ambassador in Panama City and it worked, done quickly. Brought the dogs. I met the director of the veterinary services for Panama, the state vet in Panama City. He asked me what dog I had. I told him I had a fox terrier, and he said, oh, I love fox terriers. And I was standing in a queue of about 50 people. I had papers. I had even paid a guy to take me there. Straight through to his office, sat down, had a long chat, had a cup of coffee. He passed everything. I had my dogs on the weekend, all done. So Jesus was watching over us, I tell you what. Getting my containers out of Cologne and all the way over to Bokete. I met a guy at the customs in David, the aduanas. And he said, oh, I know somebody. And he got this guy, and this guy came around immediately in a taxi. And he said to me, what do you got? And I said, I've got two containers and I'm paying 150 or 500 a day or some ridiculous amount of money for storage there. And being there 2 days, I can't afford it. I just don't have the money. He said, no. Give me 500 and I'll get it all sorted out and I will be back tomorrow, 10 o'clock. Give me your address and I'll get the whole thing done. So I gave this guy 500. The customs guy said to me, yeah, give it to him, 500, no problem. So I gave him the money. We were sitting at this house that we had bought, nothing, because everything was in the containers. And at 10 o'clock, I hear this hooting, doo-doo-doo, and I come out. There are two trucks, both my containers, and a crane. I almost fell over because this is Panama and nothing happens fast. Everything is like pay this guy, pay that guy, wait, come back, mañana, blah, blah, blah. And this guy was there. All the paperwork done, everything. I paid $100 for the customs inspection, gave them a cake, made a donation to the office, the usual whatever. The guy opened the door, looked inside, and said, "What's in there?" I said, "Oh, there's everything. There's a bloody boat and snake skins and whatever." He said, "Oh, I don't want to know." Closed the door, paid him 100, bought the cakes, whatever. It was all taken care of. So that was a miracle too. So we got set up in Panama. Then we went through the exercise of getting our children into school. Because we were tourists, we were on a tourist visa. I bought a house on a tourist visa. I brought all the stuff in as a tourist, all the containers, everything as a tourist. My wife went to the Department of Education and spent about a month trying to get everything translated into Spanish. Everything, all the children's reports, all the paperwork, everything. So that was all done. And go to see this one and then the health minister and this minister and that minister. And what a process. I tell you what, you need copies of everything. Copies of everything. And when I say everything, I mean everything. And translated into Spanish. We got through. Children got accepted into the school. So they went to school in Boquete at a place called Pio Doce. A nice Catholic school. Sacred Heart type school, whatever. I went to Marist Brothers in Durban and, we were quite happy. And then my son ended up at St. Augustine in David with my daughter, which was an ex-Marist school. And they went to school there. Very good schools. Really nice. The children they mixed with, the people that go there, very good schools. I cannot knock the Panamanian education system. It might sound antiquated, it might work in a strange way, but the children were educated well. So the education system can be sorted out, and you can do it yourself. Don't feel... I didn't speak Spanish. I mean, the first thing I said to one guy was buenos noches, buenos nachos. And my son said to me, "Dad, you said to, good nachos." And I said, "What the hell is that? What I thought I said good evening." He said, "No, that's noches." My son and daughter now speak Spanish fluently. My Spanish is acceptable. I speak builder, I speak menu, transport, and I know the best words to swear at everybody in and get things done. But that's about it. So we had experiences in that. We had experiences with builders, architects, engineers, getting things done. You can do anything. You need to have money. You need to have patience. You've got to have a good sense of humor. But don't get sucked into buying right of possession property. Now, a lot of people will turn around and say, "Oh, crap, right of possession's great. You can do all this." I know a lot of people, and I know of a lot of horrific stories and experiences from it. Right of possession is a piece of paper, basically, that gives you the right to possess the land. But there could be 10 members of the family of the property, and he's got one and he sold his one, and the other 9 come along and go, "Oh shit, look, this guy's built a house, he's put a road in and a gate," which I saw on a guy who bought an island. He had the same thing. 7 guys came along and claimed, and he had to pay out lots of money. So be very careful. And generally speaking, right of possession land is cheap. The reason it's cheap because it's not that great. And don't be fooled. Don't listen to what people tell you. "Oh, the power's just down the road and water's just down the road." Getting that power to you, getting the power from the main road up to our place in Chorcha was going to cost me $40,000. And then we're going to cut down half the trees to do it. And then it's not mine. It actually belongs to them because they put in the power up there. Even though I pay for the poles and the cable and everything else, it's still theirs. So from transformer to my place, 40,000, and it was just over 1.5 kilometers. It's a lot of money to pay out. I have a huge generator and I have my own power now. I don't get power cuts. I don't have to worry about anything. It was run on diesel. Be careful. Don't go along and see a lovely piece of land. I looked at land all over Chiriquí, Veraguas, Tolle, you name the places, we went and looked. I've been from the Darien, Yavisa, down in the Darien, right on the Colombian border, all the way to the Bocas side, to Punto Barrico. I've been to all over, checked everything out. Checked out all the cheapest properties you can possibly imagine. 35 cents a meter, fantastic. I'm going to buy this. First rains, you need a tracked vehicle to get in to the property. Second set of rains, you've got to rebuild the road. Third set of rains, you washed out, the house gone because the hillsides collapsed. Be very careful. Make sure you do a lot of research. talk to the locals, find out what's going on. There are lots of issues in Panama that you don't realize. It's a third world country. Panama City is first world in many respects, but third world in most respects. There's still a lot to be done. The Panamanian people are very nice. They are warm, they're welcoming, but they also have their problems. They're dealing with all sorts of crap that we, expect to be. This is not Africa. This is not South Africa. It's not Durban, or Johannesburg or Cape Town or whatever. You need to be patient. You need to understand that, we'll get it done. 15 years we've been at Chorcha. Well, 14 years, coming to 15 years. And I was told that the road would be tarred 15 years ago. Wow. I paid for a massive bulldozer to come and clean the road and put a road into my property, and we built a bridge. And since then, it's washed away 5 times, and other bulldozers come. My road leads out to the Kamaka, the Ngobe Bugile Kamaka. And anybody who's been up my road knows up my road. I've gone through Nissan Patrol, Nissan Frontier, Dodge Ram, Ford F-150, Mitsubishi L300, and Mitsubishi Pajero. 8 4-wheel drives. They've all died. Dead. Duotsusamosi. So please, check out where you're going to buy, what you're going to do. Think very hard. The other thing that you need to think about is how you're going to survive. You need to have a fair amount of money when you get to Panama to be able to rent or buy, get a car, set up, go through the application process, all the bits and pieces. I've given up wondering about money. The people that know us will know that we went through a stage where we were literally begging. We ran a monkey rescue center, and we tried to look after the animals because that was our real interest. And all the money that I brought with me, I got fined by the Labor Department because I was told that I didn't have to pay Social Security for one of the old guys that worked for me because he was too old to get it. So there was no point in paying for it. So I didn't. So for 6, 7, 8, 9 years, 10 years, I never paid it for him. I paid the other guys, I paid him. But I paid him his money and his decimo and his liquidation and his holiday pay and all the other things that they get. There's a lot of things that, if you employ someone, there's a ton of things that they get that you have no idea about. And what happened? One day, one of these guys took a 4-wheel drive and came up the road because they heard about the gringo guy who lives on the mountain with the monkeys and all the jazz. Came up, and lo and behold, asked this guy, "Where's your paperwork for your Seguro Social?" And he said, "I don't have any. Don't know anything about it." And he's half blind. I paid for him to have cataract operations because the government wouldn't do it for him. So he could see. And I got a fine, $12,000. 10 years worth of Seguro Social I had to pay. And I asked him, will he get any of this? And they said to me, no, he's too old to get it, but don't worry about it. So watch out. There are pitfalls. There are all sorts of things you've got to be careful of. But once you've navigated all of this and gone through it, you'll understand it's a beautiful place to live. It is not as cheap as you think. Panama is expensive. If you want to live a simple life, eat simply, and live in a Panamanian style house, fantastic. The cheap houses that you see going for 70, 80, 90, 100,000 are Panamanian houses. They are simply built. They're perfectly functional. I would live in one tomorrow. But they're not the American style homes. Don't be fooled. The American style homes are more expensive. Yes, they're lovely, got fitted bathrooms, nice kitchens, all sorts of things. And they're great. But be aware that what you're seeing is a Panamanian home. They're the cheap homes. There's nothing wrong with them. You want to get out of South Africa, you're going to have to drop down a bit. Be careful about buying around big lakes. There are some big lakes in Panama that are great. You can have a farm and be self-sufficient. Well, you can't. I'm telling you now, you can't. Don't be an idiot. I'm a horticulturalist. I grow stuff. I've got friends who've got farms, big farmers. People that are doing for Romero and all the supermarkets. And farming in Panama is very tricky. There are lots of insects, there are lots of diseases, you've got water issues, you've got soil issues, you've got elements that you wouldn't believe, wind, all sorts of things. So if you're a farmer and you think, I'm coming to Panama, I'm going to farm this, that and the other. If somebody isn't farming there already, and someone hasn't got their cows on the land already, or if they have got cows, they call them mumbis, half-starved, half-skeletal, sort of skin and bone things, then it's not worth doing. These people, the Panamanian people, would have done it before. So be careful. Please be careful. Buying near a lake, which, oh yes, water's coming next week. There's a group who's going to put power in the whole lot. Buy the land when there's water and power, and buy it when it's got a title. A title. That is what you want. Titled land. Titulado. If you don't get it, don't buy it. Don't hand over money to anybody else. And I tell you what, in Bocchetti, I can mention six American or European style developments done by crooks who took deposits, took money, sold fresh air, and these people left or lost hundreds of thousands of dollars. Not Panamanians, gringos. White, Spanish, Chinese, whatever you want to call them. So, again, please be careful. If you are in doubt, ask. Do research. Find a decent lawyer. Get a lawyer that's recommended by at least 20 people. There are lots of lawyers in Panama. And I tell you what, if I got a bucket of scorpions that I used to collect at night around my place, put them together, I would not have enough scorpions for the number of bloody lawyers that are that good. So be very careful. There are a lot of lawyers in Panama. It's a very popular thing to be a lawyer, especially a property lawyer and a lawyer for immigration. Wow, we get you a work permit next week. Santa Claus will deliver it. So please watch out. What else can I say? Beaches are great. Be careful of sandflies. Don't be judgmental. Don't expect anything and you won't be disappointed. And there's lots of things to do and see, and the vegetation is fantastic, and you can find some nice places. But just remember, Panama sits on an intersection of 3 continental plates, and there is a lot of earthquake movement and tectonic movement. So if you're going to put yourself out in a remote area on the side of a mountain, on a hill, and you've got one road in, that might be your only way out. So think very carefully. Now, I say all of this because I left South Africa in 92. I went to the Seychelles for a year. I left the Seychelles, went to Europe. From Europe to New Zealand. From New Zealand to Indonesia. From Indonesia back to New Zealand, New Zealand to Australia. Australia, I lived and worked in Indonesia, Singapore, Malaysia, traveled around all over the place there. Then came over to Panama. In the meantime, I'd been to Canada, I'd been to Colombia, Nicaragua, Costa Rica. I was planning to move to Costa Rica, planning to move to Belize. Did a lot of research, found out, spoke to people, phoned people up, talked to them. Crime, hurricanes, buddy, you name it. It all came down to Panama. Panama was a good bet, and Panama is still a good bet. But do your research. If you have questions, ask. No one's going to chew your head off. But be careful of the snake oil sellers, the ones who have got fantastic land. I went and saw a piece of land. This guy had a piece of land near Padasi. Oh, God, it's beautiful. We drove up and up and up and up. Beautiful. The scenery, the views. No one warned us that in the windy season, that the wind comes over. If this is a mountain, the wind comes here, goes over the top, down onto the Pacific side, like a bloody hurricane. All the time, 24 hours a day. Bocchetti can be unbelievable. The wind can blow 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, right through the windy season. Everything blows. If you drive up the road, you'll see that the trees are like this. I never knew, but I found out. We left Bocchetti fairly quickly and found a place down near the coast, sheltered by the mountain, no wind. Beautiful. Elevated, looks over the sea. It's really nice. So, we went and saw this property and I realized, boy, looking up here, the wind is going to be unbelievable. And I was right. Luckily, we didn't buy it. 35 cents a meter. I could have bought 500,000 square meters. I could have bought 1 million square meters, but it would still be the same. And no water. Very dry. In the dry season, it's dry. In the windy season, it's windy. In the wet season, it can be unbelievably wet. So do your research. Look at it, see who else is living there, get honest opinions. Don't be sucked into buying property that sounds absolutely amazing. If it's that amazing, it's always the same old story. If it is that much of a deal, then why are you selling it? What's wrong with it? Be careful. I don't know what else I can tell you. Those are just some of the basic things. If you've got questions, ask. I'll tell you the honest questions. I'll give you an honest answer. Be careful. Don't buy right of possession. If you're going to buy a car, Toyota, because Ricardo Perez, great guy, nice setup. His sons are nice. All through Panama, spare parts, service is magnificent. Nissan, I bought my first car there, brand new. Went in with American Express, said, I want that car. Got it. It was great. But the seat collapsed and gave me terrible backache. And I sold it to a friend, and I bought a Ford F-150. And that's another story. Mechanics and cars. Woo, I've got stories you couldn't believe. Like when we were kicked out of Panama. Well, we weren't kicked out. We weren't allowed back in. Stuck in Costa Rica. Couldn't get out of Costa Rica. I had to move and live a month in a backdoor restaurant in Nicaragua, in Granada. That's another story. Done Costa Rica 50 times. Been to Colombia. Been to Cuba. I could write a book. Anyway, look, please get excited. Do your research. Talk to everybody. Find out what you need to find out. And then make your move. You need money. You need patience. Get everything copied. Make sure you got all the information you need. Go and see. If you can afford for one member of the family, the father, the mother, whoever, go over and spend a few weeks. Travel around. Visit. Check it out first. And then go. And God bless you. You're going to have a great time. See you again.